Debbie with Debbie J's Crafting Corner. Today I'm working on a new project for Spellbinders. This is the Flowering Tree and Collapsible Card Base, which is the die of the month. Now, when I got this as a sample, so I did not have the instructions. So if you saw my unboxing video last week, you saw that I was not 100% sure what I was doing with this. Well, I went ahead and went onto the website and printed out the instructions. This is basically the same thing that comes in your packaging when you get this. So the front shows all the fun dies, and then on the back we've got all the instructions. So first things first, I'm also going to need to pull this up on my computer because it didn't print out as well. This is a color image and I printed it in black and white, so sometimes the text, since it wasn't black and white on the original, doesn't come through that well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pull this up and I'm going to start die cutting out some of the pieces so we can put this together. So next we're going to go ahead and build our main platform. So here is the base of our card that was made using this die, and this die is exactly blade to blade. It's like right at 4 1/4. Is that right? Oh, I'm sorry, it's at 5 1/2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 1/2 inches. So this is going to be a vertical card, but it will fit into, it should fit into an A2 size card envelope. Words are hard. And then we've got these little guys. These are basically going to be the sides. So you cut out each of those once. And then we've got this piece, and this is going to be the bracket for all of the tiers, and we need to cut that one out 3 times. Now the reason that we're doing it 3 times is we're going to have it in 3 different spots on our card, but you'll notice there are some little embossed, trying to show where you can see it. There are some embossed lines there, and we're going to trim 2 of these panels. So this one is going to be the one that's going to be in the back, so it's going to be the tallest. And then I'm going to trim off this top part at that score line just using my paper trimmer. Actually, I'm going to fold it right at that so I can see it better. Make sure I trim it at the right spot. Okay, so there we go. Which this also is going to, when you trim it, I'm looking at it with my measurements on my paper trimmer, and this means the second one is going to be at 1 1/4 when you trim it at that piece there. Of course, I'm going to double check, and it does come right up to that score line. And then my last one is going to be at this score line, which is, again, I need to fold it a little bit at that score line so I can see it. Okay, so that is going to be at 3/4. And of course, I'm going to double check it one more time, make sure it's right. Okay, great. And these pieces you can always use for something else later. Okay, so we've got our little end pieces, our side pieces rather, and we're going to adhere those up against the edge on the sides. Now you do want to make sure that they are completely flush. If they're not, you may not be able to get your box to fold flat like you want to. Ask me how I know. Okay, so it does need to be lined up on the bottom, and it needs to be really flush on the side. So make sure that you have it right where it's supposed to be, right? Okay. And with liquid glue, that is one wonderful thing because you can move it around a little bit when you don't have it completely perfect. So let's take a look. Okay, and it does show that it is right lined up. It's as if these were 2 pieces of the same card, so that is perfect. And now I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, except I think because I had that issue the last time, I'm going to do something a little bit different that's not as part of the instructions. The instructions say to go ahead and put both of those on and then to add your little tiers. I'm going to go ahead and start adding the tiers now, and then add this one so I can make sure everything fits. So I'm going to add some liquid adhesive on here. And this is an experiment, guys. This may or may not work, okay? Line it up with the bottom of my card. And Make sure everything is lined up flat. You can see that it's not exactly flat, so I have to fix that. I need to make the adjustment so the bottom of the tier is the bottom of my card. Let me do that one more time. One of the nice things about art glitter glue, it does dry pretty quick, but if you catch it in time, you can remove that one. Once it sticks, though, it is adhered very, very well. You usually don't have any kind of problem with it trying to come back off. Okay, so again, I am trying to make sure I line this up perfectly with the bottom. So I'm lining it up with the bottom of my card. I'm going to fold this over, and that should be right. Okay. Going to do the same thing with the other two. Add some liquid glue. And I think I liked the way that it worked the last time. I'm just going to lay it flat. Lay it right up against the bottom of my card. Lay everything flat. Making sure it's all the way up against the edge on the inside. Okay, so it's right up in there. And I'm going to do the same thing with this one. There's my glue. Using the surface of my desk for the bottom, and then slide it right over so it's right up with the edge there. And then I can fold it flat. Okay, so almost folded flat, and now I have to line it up again. Okay, so everything is lined up on the bottom, which is good. Everything is adhered where it's supposed to be on the side. That is good. Now I'm going to attach this. I'm going to do basically all of this in one fell swoop. So, putting glue down on everything, including on the back here. And I'm going to put it all in place and try to get this basically tested going the opposite direction at the same time before anything has a chance to dry. Why? Because then I can rearrange it all, right? Okay, so got all lined up there. Still does not... Oh, is that why? Okay. So the way I look at it, these should it should fold both directions. I don't know if anybody else has the same kind of issue as what I do, but I feel that they should all go, it should fold in both directions. And maybe that's not actually required. Let's see, come on. Is still not done right. Okay, so I've got everything attached in the front, got it laid down in the back. Okay, I think I'm going to actually leave this part in because this may be a reason that people don't try it. The thing is, you can still make it work. I'm wondering if that... I probably just did not position everything exactly right the first time around, but I'm gonna leave it at that. I'm gonna leave it at that. It will fold flat if you fold it to the right on the one that I did. I would say just experiment and see what works best for you, but it will make our little pop-up. So we're gonna go with that one for now. Good. So now I'm going to go ahead and start playing with putting my tree together. I've cut out 2 of the big tree out of some brown cardstock. This is actually a wood grain pattern paper that I've had in my stash forever. And to adhere them together, I'm just going to use some artist tack. I got this recently and I haven't really played with it a lot yet, but I thought this one might be a good way to use some of that. So I just placed it down on the piece that has all the adhesive on it, then put the release paper back over the top, and now I'm just burnishing it down. And what that's doing is it's pressing my tree down into those little adhesive dots, so that when I lift it up, you can even see the shininess from all of those little dots. Then I can place my second tree right over the back of it. And just lined everything up exactly, and then you've got a double layer. What the double layer does is it makes this piece a lot more sturdy. And for this one, I'm actually using a cardstock that it's already a bit thick. It's already a heavyweight cardstock. So there's my tree. Next, I'm going to start putting on some flowers. So I cut out one cutting of each of these dies for all of our flowers out of different colors of yellow cardstock, mostly because I really don't know how much I'm going to need. And I'm just going to adhere all of these down with my liquid glue. The liquid glue is going to give me a chance to rearrange them if I need to. And where did I put my... Okay. It's always fun when you're losing things on your desk, right? Also going to grab some tweezers to help me with this too. I'm going to start with the larger flowers and just put some adhesive on the card where I can see where that one's supposed to go. I'm just going to place my little flower down. And we do have 4 of those on here, so let me go ahead and grab out those other 3 rather. Okay, so there are our main flowers, our bigger ones. And now we have these smaller ones. And they are basically scattered all over the tree. And there is the last little 4 petal. Okay, so now we've got these little bud shapes. Okay. And then these little guys, I think, are actually supposed to be, these little X's are supposed to go inside the big flowers. So, let's add a little adhesive onto the back of them. Okay, and then we've got all these little dots, and I bet that they're just enough to fill up each of those little flowers. And a lot of times, instead of using the little dots, what I wind up doing is using some embellishment dots like Nuvo drops or pops of color. But since I went ahead and cut everything out this time, I'm going to go ahead and use these little guys. Plus the colors match perfect, right? Oh, this is looking cute. I looked up into the camera and it's like, oh, those are adorable. Because it does look a little different when you're looking down at your desk than it does when you're looking at the video because of the angle. Okay, so now I just need to cut out some leaves to go along with this. Okay, so now I'm going to add my leaves. I went ahead and cut out one of each of the dies for the leaves. I think that they're all going to fit on here just once, so we're going to give that one a shot. I'm thinking I probably should have done some of the leaves first because it looks like they are kind of tucked under my flowers. But you know what? That's okay. I might be able to still tuck them under. If not, I'm just going to leave it and let them go a little bit outside of Let's see. This is where having more than one pair of tweezers helps. So I'm going to see if I can lift up. Okay, that one I cannot lift up, so I'm just going to add it right about there. And that's going to be good enough. Nobody is going to really know that I did this a little bit wrong, right? Got a little leaf here and a little leaf here. For those, I'll use my jewel picker to pick them up. Okay, so I do need some more leaves, so I'm going to go ahead and die cut those out. Okay, so let's add these last leaves on, and that should finish up our tree. And for this one, I know it's not going to go under that flower enough, so I'm going to go ahead and just trim off the end. And then we'll kind of fake it. As this probably would have looked better overall if I had done all of the leaves first and then done the flowers. But I wasn't really familiar enough with that tree dye, because I hadn't used it before, to know exactly where all of the flowers were supposed to go. It's kind of like when you're coloring a new... slide on over there. Thank you very much. But when you are coloring a new detailed stamp or coloring book or anything like that, sometimes you can miss something or not even realize what something is until you color everything else that's around it. Like, I'm still discovering a couple places where I can probably add an additional leaf or two. Okay, is everything filled in enough? I think that looks pretty good, and I've only got a few extra leaves, but there we go. Our little tree is done. For the sentiment, I went ahead and cut out the happy and birthday sentiments twice, once out of each of those different shades of yellow, one in the light and one in the dark. And I'm going to basically layer them up a little bit so that I have a little bit of a shadow behind it. So I'm going to I'm using the artist tack again and just putting the lighter yellow of both of those right down, and then I can burnish it down with that release paper so I can get plenty of that adhesive along the back. You just keep on using the same sheet until you're not picking up any more sticky. It's kind of like a tape runner. It's actually a lot like my my dot liner adhesive, because there's these little bitty dots of adhesive that go all over it. Then I'm going to just line that up really close to where the lines already are, so it's going to give just a touch of a shadow. And I am shocked because I actually did that one pretty much perfect first time around. I thought I was going to have to move things around a few more times. Okay, I'm doing the same thing with the happy. I basically did the detail one first, and I probably should have done the other one first, because this one should be a little bit easier to do. Let's just line it up with a little tiny bit of a shadow. I'm thinking it's probably only about a 1/16 of an inch. This is also something that you could do pretty easily with a Xyron. If you have a Xyron sticker maker, it's the same kind of thing. It puts the adhesive on there. Now I'm going to put the adhesive on the back again, I think. Let me look at my little box here. So I'm going to place my tree adhered to the one in the back, and then I'm going to put well, let me see. I'm not 100% sure where I'm going to put everything. Let me go ahead and start off with putting my tree down. There is this little bit down here that I can put some adhesive on. And then I want to put that one right in the center. It's going to go right there. And this is where I'm going to need my tweezers to help me hold it in place. That was one of the wonderful things about reverse tweezers, is that you don't have to hold them to have them still work. But this pair isn't quite as long as what I'd like, so it's not wanting to reach all the way. Okay, so that looks like it's about centered. So I'm going to let that dry for a minute, and then I can add my other sentiments, I think. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and add them on. I'm going to put a little glue down here at the bottom. Use my other pair of tweezers to help me hold it in place for a sec. Actually, never mind. I'm just going to use my fingers. I'm going to hold that in place long enough for it to start to stick. So now we have our happy is actually kind of popped up too. We can do the same thing with our birthday. We've got this little strip down at the bottom, and you can do this in front of or behind. I'm just going to use it in front of. And put that right in the middle there and hold it in place long enough to let it adhere for a sec. Okay. And that is so cute. So after all of that, I decided I want a little bit something behind it. So I've taken another of those background panels, got one cut out over here. So I've die cut that out, and I'm going to use our 3D embossing folder of the month. This is just so pretty. And when you're doing the embossing, you have to decide which way do you want the embossing to go. I'm going to use the part that is basically, when you touch it, it is flat. This one has raised, so this side, which is raised, is going to actually imprint into the cardstock. This is going to be, the flat surface here is going to press down, and all of those little flowers are going to pop up. So I'm going to add some ink on here. So this is some Color Hide ink from Maker Forte. Just doing a light swiping across that, and then I'm going to put my little panel on there. Now the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to place it where I want it on the other side so that I can make sure I get it straight. This is one of those patterns that has a geometric piece to it, so you want to make sure everything pretty much lines up straight, or it's going to look kind of wonky, unless wonky is the way the look you're going for. And then I'm just going to close that folder. So now that is ready to go through my die cutting machine with the correct sandwich for embossing. So since this is a 3D embossing folder, I'm using my universal base plate platform A. Then I put my 3D embossing folder down, and then I'm going to use, as soon as I remember where it is, adapter plate D. And then we're just going to crank that on through. It is a little bit tight, and I have also noticed that if the adapter plate and your embossing folder are lined up right on the edge, on the end going in, doesn't want to go in. So you need to give them a little bit of space there first. Okay, so let's take a look, see how that turned out. Okay, and because of that swiping, it isn't exactly perfect, but I think that turned out great. That gives it a little bit more interest and variation. You could, of course, have also sprayed it down with water and give it a little bit of additional texture there, but I think this looks great. So now I'm going to adhere that to my panel. I'm just adding a lot of liquid glue to the back. And yes, this probably would have been easier if I thought about it to begin with, you know, before putting everything together. But now all I have to do is just slide that on down and then line it up with the edges of my panel. There we go, just pressing it down. And that finishes up that card, and we've got that nice pretty texture in the background. So that's going to finish up this card for Spellbinders. You guys have a wonderful day. Be sure to check out this playlist to see more videos where I'm using Spellbinders products. And remember, if I can make it, I mean, especially after all the issues, if I can make it, you can too. I will talk to you soon. Bye, guys.